Well, men are expected to be strong, so Bob is super strong.
Right.
I have a question. Who made you think men have to be strong? Who made you think that? Hi, welcome to the castle. Today we're gonna look at a new video that I found on my For You page. The video title is The Incredibles, a cautionary tale for young men. I didn't know the word cautionary, I will be honest. English is not my main, like my mother tongue, but the title do be a little bit alarming. I scrolled a little bit through the comments, just looking a little bit on them. They've also been a little bit alarming. So I don't know what we're gonna watch now. I hope it will be something that we can learn from, that's for sure. And I will not babble too much now. We will just go right in. Enjoy. So here we do have the video. Let's see what it is about. It is 10 minutes. I hope I will not make an hour out of it. Let's go for the best.
The Incredibles is not a kid's movie. It kind of reminds me of one of those happy-go-lucky songs with a really up-tempo instrumental, but when you take a second listen to the lyrics, they're kind of somber, dark, and maybe even a little nihilistic.
Don't have many movies that nowadays, or like not even nowadays, like back in the days, like The Incredibles is quite an old movie by today's standards, even though it's a great movie. But I think many movies specifically that appear to be made for kids are more for the adults too, to just learn and close the gap between generations. For example, a really good one is Turn Red, about the teenage or like becoming a teenager for girls, which got a lot of controversies, undeserved. Because adults should watch that too, definitely, to just see how kids feel, because it portrays it very, very well. So I get that it's not for adults, but many movies have that.
The movie is colorful in its imagery and it has a lot of funny bits and gags, but the themes.
Okay, I know we have a bunch of boys. Who had a crush on her? Gotta call you out.
The Incredibles is unapologetically adult. It comments on the fear of the mundane lifestyle a lot of us.
You already see like where his life went just based on the color theories here. It's like very, very bright in terms of like no much saturation, not colorful, very boring. Everything is kind of gray and a gray mush together, just like slight colors over there in the background. And a little bit on the grandma to just make her a little bit pop out, but everything else is just gray and sad.
Us eventually lead, the struggles to find that work-life balance, and a lot of other things that really resonate with me differently as I get older. And as a former athlete and current family man, Mr. Incredible's journey hits a little close to home. A little too close to home, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
No matter your age, race, or gender, at some point you're going to have some sort of struggles with identity. And I'm not quite sure what it is about men, but for some reason we seem to have a tough time getting over the past in terms of who we were and the things that we used to do. Maybe it's societal expectations, maybe it's expectations we put on ourselves, or some combination of the two. But
I think it's a combination of the two, because nowadays you see so much on social media, who people are, what people are, how successful they are. And then you're like, yeah, I kind of want to be like that. I feel stuck with my life. And this is okay. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's okay to be stuck a little bit, you know? I think many people have that. Overall people, not even specifically men. That they just feel stuck and not sure what they want to do. Man, if I would know like 10 years ago that I would be sitting here recording videos as a VTuber, I would never believe that. Back in the days, I don't even think VTuber existed except from Kizuna Ai or something like that. So I never thought that I would be here. And man, it's been a hard journey, but I learned a lot and now I use it to grow what I finally found to be my purpose. And I think many are just looking for a purpose or a reason or something that drives them, and that is absolutely normal.
Let's take a deeper look into the Incredibles and Mr. Incredible's journey
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm,
identify some of the traps he falls into.
mm-hmm.
Every superhero has a secret identity. I don't know a single one who doesn't. Who wants the pressure of being super all the time?
Brad Bird, the
Okay.
creator of the movie, admits that his personal life struggles unintentionally bleed into this film. His struggle to find that work-life balance and
Oh,
most
boy.
importantly, his
Wait a minute. What did I just saw? I never looked at that. Look at her wall. Look at the wall. It's like do you know what it reminds me of? I'm not kidding. It reminds me of one of those Greek big art things on the walls they had back then. Like those monuments, and then they had like very big either paintings or made out of stone or wood, whatever it is, or like on those vases like from Hercules or something. It really reminds me. Look at those shapes. It kind of is, or like this one is definitely a man with a spear, and they have helmets on. So it could be either Greek. There's snakes, something Greek-ish with also those. Do you see? I hope you see my mouse, man. Those symbols here. It kind of gives me a Greek vibe. I never paid attention to that. My God, what we learn every day, right? What we discover every day. It's great.
balance and most importantly his guilt over that heavily inspired
Oh,
Mr.
boy.
Incredible's arc. And speaking of arcs, the main character archetypes are all based on roles they typically play in a family and the different societal pressures that they usually face.
What do you mean? Well, men are expected to be strong, so Bob is super strong.
Right.
Mothers are pulled in 10 different directions at once.
Yeah, but I have a question. Who made you think men have to be strong? Who made you think that? Please take a moment and think about it.
So I have her be elastic. Teenagers are defensive and insecure, so I had her be invisible and have force fields. And 10-year-old boys are energy balls who want to open every door and press every button now. And babies are unknowns. They could have no powers or they could have all the powers.
Bob's
Very
entire
true.
life is based around
Everybody can have all the powers. You will find yours.
being Mr. Incredible. And now that he doesn't have that anymore, it's literally like a piece of him is missing. He has a wife,
Oh
a
my.
family with 3 beautiful children, and a suburban home. But none of that really matters to Bob. He never really cared to have a family. Even him and Elastigirl's wedding at the beginning of the movie, you could tell he kind of had the mindset that the party would never end.
Hey, is the night still young?
You're very late.
How do I look? Good?
Oh, the mask. You still got the mask.
You look at Bob
I always find it hilarious that suddenly he takes off his mask that he had on the face and suddenly he's someone else because the character design of all of the characters is so specific that you just recognize them no matter what they wear. I think it's just funny because of the mask that you just become someone else.
throughout this movie, especially when it comes to family. His interactions, he is pretty tapped out. He's very disengaged with his kids. He's extremely disconnected from his wife. And
Very.
even when Helen goes out of her way to try to make connection and conversation, he just responds like a drone on autopilot.
Dash got sent to the office again.
Good. Good.
No, Bob, that's bad.
What?
He's somber, he's depressed, and most importantly, he's extremely angry because
That is, how do I say that? Routine, having routine in life is great. But routine can also take the spark of day-to-day tasks. I'm not talking about romanticizing your life, but like, I don't know how to explain it. Being grateful to have a nice meal because many people on the planet doesn't have it, or being grateful for having a family and like interacting with them, showing them the world, how cool it is and what they could do with their lives and making an impact with that. I think he lost something along the way. I'm not sure what though, that everything just became a gray mush to him. And like I said, I'm not supporting romanticizing your life, but sometimes normal things still need appreciation because for other people, it's not normal things because they can't have them. Even being on the internet is technically a privilege. If you compare it to different parts of the planet. So it is, or like going to the, for me, for example, going to the grocery store and not caring what something costs, especially in this economy, is a kind of feeling of freedom. Or when something I really really like is on sale, man, it just makes my day. It's like simple things can be great. Just because they're normal and belong in our day-to-day life doesn't mean they're not great, right? Not romanticizing it, like showing that small things matter, and small changes or small items or a small compliment, for example, it matters. And I think he lost it somewhere, and now everything is just gray.
In his eyes, him and his family are living a much smaller life than they have to. His son has super speed and can easily be a star on a football or track team, but he has to stay away from sports because they're keeping a low profile. This is something that clearly frustrates Bob a lot. At this point in his life,
I think because in The Incredibles, the superheroes got very, very bashed, right? So we have to consider in the movie, the superheroes got badly bashed because humans, or like one guy who didn't want it to be saved, was saved by him. And then he got sued, and then a complete debate and disaster happened. And then being a superhero was kind of banned. You were not allowed to do what your purpose is. So they took away his purpose, which is the worst thing you can do to someone. I mean, I have what I have now, and it's my purpose. If someone would take it away, I think it's time to break my contact with humans and just burn it. I didn't say that. YouTube, it's fine. It's fine. It's not happening. But I think we have to consider that too. He got taken away his purpose, what he was living for, what his passion was. And if you do that, it's a hard time.
Kids aren't really individual people. They're just extensions of him. And if they're extremely normal and regular, then so is he. His worldview, their powers are their purpose. So much so that
his kids are not regular because they want to be. Like I said, they're not allowed to. The whole family, based on what they are pushed down by society and cannot live their life and live their purpose, which is being superheroes. Having a family, great. But with those kind of powers, you should not be pushed down. You should be not. I'm not saying maybe like be used, but like let you be free in a positive way that you can be a benefit for the whole society and be like an inspiration, a role model, something like that.
Appropriately lights up when he hears Dash gets in trouble for using his powers at school.
They caught you on tape and you still got away with it? Whoa. You must have been booking. How fast do you think you were going?
If I'm being
it
honest,
is cool.
I unfortunately
It is cool to have
relate
that.
to and feel for Bob a lot more than I wish I did. If you'd have told me 15 or hell, even 10 years ago that I would be done playing basketball by the age of 24, I would have laughed in your face. On top of that, there was this weird guilt that I felt into my late 20s because similar to how Bob feels, I feel like if you have a gift, you shouldn't squander it. You should use it. And for years, I was just kind of stuck. I was in this limbo and doing normal things and working regular jobs. Those things just felt empty to me. Even if the job was a really good one, I never
See, also on the search of having a purpose, having a meaning, making an impact, no matter how small it is. Like this is what so many strive for and so many are looking for. And I think because of, for example, society and social media, I think it's a common thing to believe. You can correct me, of course. I think it's a common thing to believe that to make an impact on the world or on whatever you want to make an impact, or like in the community or whatever it is, you are expected to be like a superhero, to be exceptional, to be like a star shining in the sky, whatever it is. But sometimes it's just going to the animal shelter and walk the dogs 2 times a week, or going to a park with friends and just clean it up to make it look pretty or safe for children. Those are hero tasks. It's the small things that make the world better, not being a superhero. Because a normal human, with all the statistics in mind, the best way you have an impact in your life is making it small scale and then succeed, like rocket it. Just rock that. And that is fine. You will find a purpose. You will find people that acknowledge you, that find you as like, see you as an inspiration, and want to start maybe a little company to clean up things, or like maybe a little gadget that helps you with all the mundane tasks, or a new way to entertain dogs if you are into dogs. Who gives a shit? It is not, you don't have to move the world. You don't have to be Hercules. You can just be you and impact the way the world around you in the way you can, even if it's just going outside one day, seeing someone, and then you're like, man, those shoes look really cool. And then you take the courage and go to that person, and then you're like, man, I noticed your shoes. They're so cool. I wish you a good day. That's enough. It's such a stupid little thing, but it will make someone smile, and then you won, both of you, because the one person got a compliment, and you noticed that that you made the person happy. I think that is, it's so small. It sounds insignificant, but I promise you, it is.
never felt fulfilled, and being in relationships was no different. When something like that is such an integral part of the identity you create for yourself, it can be extremely hard to move on from it.
Sometimes
Yeah, oh, I'm so sorry that I paused so many times, man. He has a good point. The identity you create for yourself is what kind of actions you do. So let's say, I will just put it into my perspective. So we have like, it's not like made up, it's something that I experienced, right? So, for example, being in a not good place, let's say, where you don't know what to do with your life, you're just playing games all day long. You wake up, you don't know which day it is because you just wake up in game and then you go back to bed. Getting out of this moment, which can last a couple years even, is super, super difficult. That's why it's important to know small things matter. And even if you're doing, like when you are in such a bad space, small things that you do for yourself to have a better life, like cooking proper meal, going outside for 10 minutes a day. This is where the first stones are starting to roll. And then it just becomes better and better. You just have to keep it going, to not fall into that.
I think I just like the simple life, relax a little and raise a family.
One of the least talked
I mean,
about
he
and
wanted
most
that as a
symbolic characters
goal.
in this movie is Mirage. Yeah, on some level, she's your classic honeypot type character that you would see in any sort of spy movie. But for Mr. Incredible, she's a lot more than that.
Wallace
She's
so
the
cool,
literal
man.
embodiment of the fun, the intriguing, and overall attractiveness of that better life. She tells him everything he wants to know and everything that he already feels about himself deep down. And if you listen closely, the words she tells him on their first meeting are pretty much directly going against everything Helen's told him.
Reliving the glory days is better than acting like they didn't happen.
Yes, they happened. But this, our family, is what's happening now, Bob.
The supers aren't gone, Mr. Incredible. You're still here. You can still do great things.
From that perspective, Mirage is
Yeah, but you can do great things as a dad, or as a neighbor, or as a employee even. I mean, his company was shit, not gonna lie, but you know what I mean. He technically doesn't have to go back to be a superhero. He can just identify himself differently in a complete other light and then move on from there. The identity you create for yourself, like I said, you can't create your identity being miserable, just sleeping and playing games all day. Or your identity is, hey, I learned how to cook. I know how to cook now. I learned this, I learned that. That your identity could be a learner. Your identity could be, if you like music, that you start making music. You are the potential of you going above and beyond is not a limit. The only limit is you. And I encourage at least one person to try something new for themselves to have a better life or a better day. That would be great.
is also subtly and not so subtly used as an allegory for cheating. And when Mirage invites him to the island, his entire demeanor changes. He's all of a sudden more attentive. He's working out again and slimming down. Him and his wife's sex life is clearly implied to be back active again. And much like anyone who takes that
a little
step
thing
into cheating
happened,
on their partner
and
looking
everything
for that
became
outside
better.
validation in a relationship, it leads them to disaster. In this case, it's a robot monster that's literally being programmed and designed to kill them and other supers.
Mr. Carr no longer works at InsureCare.
What do you mean?
Uh-oh.
He's on a business trip. A company retreat.
My records say his employment was terminated almost 2 months ago.
Easily one of the most intense scenes in the movie is when Helen and the kids are making their way to the island to find Bob. At this point, Helen just believes Bob is cheating on her, and she thinks she's going to go to this island and find him living his superhero fantasies out with some new woman, and she couldn't be more wrong. Well, at least about the new woman.
I mean, she was wrong, yes, but the signs were there. Okay, we have to protect Helen here. The signs were there. We should acknowledge her feelings that she felt left behind, and he dodged her and lied to her. So the signs were clearly there. We cannot blame Helen that she thought he was cheating. Okay.
Part. When Syndrome gets wind that they're in the area, he sends a couple of missiles up at the plane. Syndrome has no care in the world that she announces that there's kids on the plane. And this scene is super gut-wrenching because when the missiles approach, Elastigirl is pushing Vi to lead a force field over the plane. She just can't do it. She's never been in the field before. There's no jokes, no wisecracks, just pure intensity and raw emotion.
Yeah.
Now, as audience members, we know that they survived this plane crash, but up until this point, Mr. Incredible thinks he's lost his entire family.
Why are you here? How can you possibly bring me lower?
See, he loves
What
his
more can
family.
you take away from me?
Crazy thing is, he's back to his prime weight. He's back to his prime build. He's got a new super suit. He's back to doing all the heroic things and trying to stop evil. All the things that he was missing and he thought that it was a void in his life. But his family, the thing that he looked at as a burden and something that was holding him back for all these years, is now gone. The entire sequence from the plane missiles to the kids having to fend for themselves and Helen eventually getting back to Bob to save him is probably the most real and raw Pixar has ever been. After realizing that his family isn't dead, that's the first time in this
he's so
movie that
happy.
Bob seems to acknowledge and appreciate his family. He stops looking at them as a burden, but more as a benefit. But with this
Which they always have been, but a slight change, I mean, yeah, a change of perspective changed his entire life, basically. From being great to, man, cool, I have a family. I have a cool boy that can run super fast. I have a great wife. My daughter can be invisible, and God knows what my baby can do, but they're great. This is like a 180-degree turn. But he realized it because he thought he lost them. So why don't do the same? Don't try to see something as a burden if it's technically not. And when you lose it, then suddenly it's the most important thing to you. Appreciate what you have, not when you lose it. Appreciate it when you have it. That's a great message.
Sudden realizations comes a whole set of new fears and insecurities.
I'm not strong enough.
Strong enough, and this will make you stronger?
Yes. No.
That's what this is? Some sort of workout?
I can't lose you again.
Ma, look
So
at it.
even though Bob has been a parent and a husband long enough to have a teenager, this is almost like him becoming a dad and a real husband for the first time. He's been running around chasing the glory days with no consideration for how his actions have consequences for everyone and not just him. It's that sudden realization that every new dad has, that any decision they make, whether good or bad, right or wrong, can possibly have some sort of effect on their family.
Yeah.
On one end, that can be empowering, and the film portrays that with them coming together to defeat Syndrome rather than letting Bob go out there and do it on his own. But that realization is also a terrifying one because it can have negative impacts as well.
Can have
This
risks,
is my
yeah.
fault. I've been a lousy father. Blind to what I have.
So obsessed with being undervalued that I undervalued all of you.
And with
Did
that,
you
my
just appear?
interpretation of the first Incredibles movie's messaging would have to be careful with what you allow to become a part of your identity. You're not a car guy. You're just a guy who loves and appreciates cars. I was
That's
never a
fine.
basketball player. I was someone who loved and enjoyed playing the game of basketball.
Yeah, but if you was someone who enjoyed and loved basketball, if you want to, you can go back to it. I know it's different as an adult because of time and maybe money and whatever happens in your life, right? But you have still the possibility, even if it's just 2 hours per week, you could have it back by choice. If you miss it, try to adjust it and make it fit in your day, in your life now, so you can have it back. You don't have to completely lose it.
And now I love and enjoy teaching kids how to do the same. You might call yourself a YouTuber.
Make it your profession. Wonderful way to do that. Yeah.
But what happens if that fails, or you just no longer have the time or passion to do it anymore? You're not a YouTuber. You're just a person that started making YouTube videos because you enjoyed it and it was fun. And if one day you wake up and you decide that it's no longer fun, that's okay.
That's okay.
The things that were the center of my existence.
There's also, there's also a thing that I specifically see in the streaming community. If something doesn't work out and it makes you anxious, it makes you maybe even depressive, it discourages you, it makes you feel bad about yourself, it has all the negative things, you have 2 options. You can either look at it and try to figure out why is it doing that and try to change it, right? You can change it. Or you can just acknowledge, okay, it's not my thing. I see a lot of streamers, there are a lot of content creators in general, but for me specifically, I'm in a lot of streaming communities. And I see a lot of streamers who are trying and trying and trying. And I admire that trying. That is a lot of willpower that they have. But also they express the discouragement, the frustration, and everything that comes with when something isn't working. I think there's a big part why they don't quit, or why they can't acknowledge, okay, this is just not for me, or this is a skill that I just can't pull off. I think it's a feel of shame that also comes from a very, very be successful, be efficient, be rich, be whatever, be famous, whatever you want to call it. This kind of mindset that is getting advertised by a lot of many times scammy creators. And it is okay, and there's no shame to it to acknowledge, okay, this is not my thing. I can't do that. In this way, I'm trying it. There maybe are other ways, but it is also fine to just say, yo, that's not what I can do, or the way I do it is not the right one. Maybe I need to step back from it a little bit and do something else. And you still have the experience you have. It will not go away. You still have the experience. Or you're saying, okay, I will just go into a research phase for an entire year and figure out what did not work. But you don't have the pressure to, for a creator, you don't have the number pressure, which many have, right? I mean, it's their income, it's their life, it's their purpose, whatever you want to call it. But if it doesn't work out, there's always a way to get just a job to pay the bills, and then try something else again to find your purpose or to find your meaning in life. And that should not be a shame. And I hate this culture where when people say, okay, this is not my thing, I was not successful with it, that's fine. They should never be blamed for it. They tried. And this is something, like, if someone tries, this is all you can ask for. Because everybody comes from a different standpoint. Everybody comes from a different skill set. Trying something and either making it your thing and have fun with it, or learning that it's not for you. It should be both very valid and on the same level acknowledged things by the people surround you, or whatever you want to call it. It should not be a shame. Definitely. Whoever will shame you because you tried something and it didn't work out, shame on that person, because they feel they have something inside that they want to push over. So they're blaming other people for not being successful instead of finally getting their ass up. I'm sorry for ranting.
Existence in my 20s are pretty much non-existent in my 30s. And that's something that I've finally been able to come to terms with over these last few years. And I'm glad I've had this movie to continuously fall back on when I'm experiencing some resistance to change. And I had a chance to sit down and watch this movie with my son for the first time about a week ago. And that was
so sweet.
Really weird and surreal. One day when I'm no longer here and he's feeling resistant to change, maybe this movie and possibly this video can help him through that as well. Anyways, sorry to serious that out any more than it already was. Thanks for watching. It's your boy Eddie Knights. This is Nerdy Before It Was Cool.
Thank you.
The Incredibles is not...
I'm sorry. That was so cool. I mean, let me have this. It's so nice. I mean, it made me tear up, man. It made me tear up that he's like passing his wisdom to his kid. And if nobody would see that video and just his kid, it would be a huge help for him, right? For his boy, for his son. And then having something to fall back when he's not feeling well or something, or he needs a reminder, yo, it's fine. It's fine to not succeed sometimes, or it's fine that you lost a little bit of spark in your life. You can have it back. It's not a dead end. That is, oh man, I teared up because of that. That was so sweet. Thank you.